Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Cindy.
Together, we're the Bitty Buddies. We're headed to Tarpon Springs, Florida today. Come along. Tarpon Springs is located on Florida's central Gulf Coast and was named by Mary Ormond for the great fish she saw jumping in the bayou. Those fish actually turned out to be mullet. We've just arrived in Tarpon Springs. Our first stop is the visitor center because we happen to know there are clean bathrooms here. And we want to grab some brochures to make sure that we're covering the things that we want to do.
This is the Spongerama Sponge Factory. There's a free movie inside about the early history of the sponge divers and how they got started here. It's an old movie, but it's extremely interesting and very authentic.
For 30 years, the sponge industry was the largest industry in Florida, and Tarpon Springs was known as the sponge capital of the world. In 1890, the Cheney Sponge Company sold almost $1 million in sponges, and by 1905, over 500 Greek sponge divers were working the sponge beds using at least 50 boats.
I do like the strings of sponges. This is one of the boat tours getting ready to go out.
I think there's a tray that you definitely missed seeing in here.
The flamingo tray?
Yes.
I saw it. The ATs. Oh, I saw it.
The sponge industry of Tarpon Springs helped build a Greek community that's now famous not only for the world's best sponges, but for some of the finest Greek restaurants, markets, and bakeries in the country. In Tarpon Springs, you'll find sponge docks, Greek restaurants, bakeries, attractions, sponges, sponge diving, tours, sightseeing cruises, and lots of shopping.
Oh, to hold records.
45.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Indeed.
Oh wow.
You can see the big ones. And it eats through the membrane in all the little holes and it spits out the fresh
Look at those
water.
shells. Those are cool.
That's my pat on the back. And I made the veggie
Look at
stand.
this. The crab.
Skeleton or whatever?
It's the claw.
Oh my Lanta. I thought you were looking at this little
No,
thing.
that's the claw of the crab.
Dang.
You don't want to run into that crab.
I don't expect them to be soft, but they're sponges. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna feel like coral.
Uh-huh.
But no, they're sponges.
Just a different kind. The Dolphin gift shop here, it's been here for years. I can remember going here almost 10 years ago and this Dolphin gift shop was here. It's really interesting in that it's got a lot of history. I mean, there's literally a crab claw, but it's the size of this. It's a crab claw and it was that big.
I'll make sure we have a picture of it.
Has the largest sponge ever taken out of the waters. And it's just an interesting place to go to. They have old stuff. They have some of the old fish.
Look at this picture frame right here. We actually, that was our first boat that we got in 1947. We actually had to cut the anchor off, put a gaff hook on the anchor rope, and use the anchor to get the fish up because we couldn't bring it over the railing. And we came in 18 miles offshore with that fish hanging.
Oh, wow.
I say we, but I was born in 90. Obviously not.
I was going to say,
my family.
You were not there in 1979.
No.
Nice try.
Yeah, that's very cool. That they have stuff to buy too. But if you can, they weren't open last time we were here, but if they're open, definitely take a walk down here and go into this Dolphin gift shop because you won't regret it, especially when you get the owner talking about.
Lots of little kitschy shops here.
Shopping in Tarpon Springs offers plenty of opportunity to purchase high-quality natural sea sponges, but you can also find fancy homemade soaps, goat's milk, fine olive oils, aged balsamic vinegars, wine, and, of course, plenty of Florida souvenirs.
We're at Hella's, right on the main drag. One lady said that there was a lot of tourists that come here. I've always come here just about every time I'm in Tarpon Springs, so I absolutely love this food. And we are trying, the shot is Idoniko, which we have no idea.
Great
So,
brandy. I took a picture, so we'll post it in here so you
kind
can
of
see
a
what it
great
is.
brandy, something with it. But cheers. Opa.
As soon as that hit my mouth, I was sorry that I was drinking it. You're welcome.
It's very potent. And I'm crying right now because it is extremely strong.
It is not good. It tastes like brown
Actually,
liquor.
this is better than the ouzo, but
Oh,
it's,
no way.
It's like,
Oh, that was so gross.
oh no, I like that.
Oh, good.
But it's strong.
It's not going to be a pretty video, let me just tell you. That was not pretty.
The pomegranate margarita,
Raspberry martini, because a martini is what I do.
and we're cheers.
Let's launch it up. L'chaim. Too light.
It's good. I like it. We're waiting for our saganaki, and we're very excited.
Which is some flamin' cheese.
Yeah, some flamin' cheese.
Everybody loves some flamin' cheese.
In the meantime, we got bread and butter. That's all I need.
Hopefully it lights up.
Please. It'll be very disappointing to our 30 subscribers.
I don't have your face in here, so here we go. All right.
Where's the
No, you gotta lay it. You gotta
Saved at the last minute. Well done.
Very excited. Yum.
That's good.
Very excited about the second act.
Still pretty hot.
Thank you.
Cuidado.
So I don't know if you've ever had this, but it's got the shot of ouzo poured on top, then lighted on fire, and you have to say the upa because it adds an extra layer of flavor. But it's Greek cheese that's fried. And it
While you're
is
talking, I'm getting on
so
it.
freaking delicious. You just really...
I can't eat it yet because it's flaming hot.
Yes. Put it in your mouth, burning hot. I want to see it.
Okay, it's not too bad. This doesn't taste like ouzo at all. Did you say they cover it with ouzo?
That's what the shot is.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like ouzo at all. This is definitely lemony, which is why you like it, because you and your children would love lemon and vinegar on everything. That's delicious. Jamie loves cheese.
Tell you how much I'm enjoying that.
The Sponge Exchange was created in 1907. The building and courtyard had a place in which each sponger could store his catch while awaiting the twice-weekly auctions at which they sold their catch.
Okay, good.
Wow. That's amazing.
Look how big this thing is.
Look at it up here too. Those are amazing.
So crazy.
$300.
That thing's like so cool.
They're very neat. I do forget that they're soft because you look at it and you just expect it to be coral-like. Not sure how many times we've mentioned, if at all, that Tarpon Springs was the center of the sponge trade. And now, though it still makes money from the sponge trade, they also rely on tourist money here. Inside the Sponge Exchange. And this square is not all there is. There's also a little alley down here where Mama's is.
Well, the problem is, the sun's like right there.
They do live music in here. Not necessarily here in the boat, but they do live music. I've seen it here before. And then down that alley is where Mama's is. Delicious food. More shops back over this way. They're clothing shops. They're sponge shops. You know how people do painted stones and you find them along the way? Well, we found a painted shell in Cocoa Beach, actually in Port Canaveral. So we have a painted shell with our stuff on it that we're going to leave in Tarpon Springs. It's our first. We plan to do more. You still see it?
I can see it, just barely though.
So maybe somebody sitting on the bench will
Perfection.
turn their head and see it.
Yep.
Should I move it out a little, or you think it's good?
I think it's
Hi,
good.
so we're gonna wrap here for Tarpon Springs Part 1. We will bring you Part 2 soon.
So Tarpon Springs is kind of a favorite for me. Yeah.
Aching feet, fairly low.
Yeah, it was it's not a very long street. I think, 4 or 5 blocks
Maybe,
long
yeah.
completely. So you just basically, for the sponge docks, you just go down one street, one side, and you come on up the other. And especially if you stop and eat halfway through, you have plenty of places to rest. Lots of outdoor cafes, and
Right.
there was some seating too.
Yeah, there are benches along where the boat docks are.
Yeah.
There are benches in there, and again, lots of restaurants.
Yeah.
So I would say a 1.5
Yeah.
aching feet
Yeah, it's
or
not
so.
bad. It's not bad at all.
Cost was fairly low.
If you don't have handicap, you probably will have to pay for parking. It's usually around $4 to $5.
So not expensive to park and worth it. As I've said in other videos, if you can't find parking anywhere, park a few blocks out, call rideshare and ride into town and have them drop you right off at the boat docks.
Both times we've parked at the visitor center, and of course she has her handicap, but they usually have plenty of parking, and try to recommend that because the visitor center is right at the head of that street. So especially if you're staying in the area, you can go inside and get pamphlets and stuff and booklets that have coupons for a lot of those restaurants that you see down the street.
Yeah, so good
Yeah.
cost tip
Yeah.
is go into that visitor center and get some of the coupons.
And the woman in there I've seen her both times,
Yeah.
and she's very friendly.
She is very
Yeah.
nice, and the bathrooms are very clean.
Yes,
there.
that
Which,
is very
great.
clean. Yeah.
Worthiness, obviously, we think it's worth it because, as you'll see in part 2 of this video, we've been a couple of times, have spent several days there. Worthiness is very high because it's a unique town. It is the
Yes.
highest congregation of Greeks outside of Greece. So you'll walk down the street and see or hear people speaking in
Having
Greek.
a full conversation, yeah, as we did at breakfast the next morning.
It's very different from just a typical anywhere town
Yes.
in Florida. You know, Tarpon Springs is very unique.
And they're very proud of their history. So if you meet one of the children or grandchildren like we did in one of the gift shops, they'll sit there and tell you tales
Yeah, which I thought was really
Yeah,
cool.
yes.
You know, we got some personal history
Yeah.
from people,
Yeah, they're very proud of their heritage, which as well they should be.
which would segue into history. I highly recommend this for history. I would give it a high history rating because the sponge industry has been a multi-million-dollar industry for a long time. So there's a lot of history built into
Yeah.
it. So I would say it's very high historic value.
Right.
And
Safety. You go most of the time during the day. The restaurants don't stay open very late. We were there after dark, and I had to walk down and get the car by myself. But it was it wasn't that, I didn't feel endangered or anything. It was still early in the evening. But the restaurants don't stay open. It's not a huge nightlife scene. So
at least not down by the sponge
Right.
docks. There are other areas of Tarpon Springs that we'll cover in part 2. But down by the sponge docks, those restaurants were originally created for the sponge workers. They needed a place to eat when they got off the boats. So those restaurants were created for that. So they sort of kept those hours.
Right. So safety, I would say, you should feel fine and you should feel safe there. Of course, take your natural precautions that you
Regular.
would normally take anywhere.
The only time we didn't feel safe was at the hotel where we were staying, and that was outside of town. It was sketchy, but
And that is, you pay for what you get.
anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for part 2 coming soon. Please like our video, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at Bitty Buddies.
We'd appreciate it. And now it's your turn to go out and experience not only Tarpon Springs, but any other areas. Visit your own homes and get up off the couch and go.
You never know when you can't go. So get up and do it.
Do it now.
Before it's too late.
late.
Do it.
We
Do
might even
it.
see you out there. Yeah.
Oh, keep your eyes out.
Bye.
We're watching you.
Go.
Keep an eye out.
See ya.
Maybe we'll see you. Maybe you'll see us. Thanks for watching.